Hi, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Amber. I am a freelance editor and an author. I currently have 4 collections of poetry out, and I'm in the middle of working on my urban fantasy manuscript called The Cemetery Book. I also have a cozy mystery for new adults that's on the back burner for the moment, and this actually felt like a really good time to dive into the topic of shelving your manuscript, because I have been in this game for a little while. I published my first piece in 2013, published my first book in 2023, but I started writing in 2004. So I think there's a lot of rushing when it comes to new writers specifically, and it makes sense. Once I realized I wanted to write, I wrote a lot of short stories, and then when I was 12, so about 2006, I went ahead and wrote my first manuscript. From 2006 to 2010, I wrote, I believe it was 5 complete manuscripts. So what I really want to talk about is why it's okay to shelve, and not just from a mental health standpoint of, don't burn yourself out or anything like that, but from a creative standpoint of writing is a craft. And if you are not practicing it, you will become stagnant, you will never improve, and odds are you will never see your work published. Because the pieces I wrote in my first 4 years of writing, I would never want to be published. I wrote countless poems that I still have somewhere. I think they're in my mother's house. I have the manuscript I wrote when I was 14. That one has gone through tremendous rewrites. I would say 6 at this point. I have a parallel society, sci-fi, I wasn't sure which word I wanted to say first, that has gone through very extensive rewrites, which has probably seen 6 or 7 of its own. And the thing is, would I come back to them one day? Potentially, yes. Would they look anything like the originals? Not at all. The sci-fi in particular, besides the opening events that lead to discovering the parallel universe, you would not know it was the same book at all. Completely different, takes on more political intrigue and a sci-fi element of more dystopian of the speculative fiction genre, where it kind of looks at more of what humanity becomes in different situations. The original was just, we went to a new world and it was really cool and fun. No, you could tell my age difference between the rewrites. And so what I want to tell you right now is shelve the book if it's not serving you. I think this is harder for new writers to accept, because we all believe that our first complete manuscript is the one that we will publish, the one that will kick off our author career. Like I said, I knew I wanted to be an author when I was 10 years old. So for the roughly 23 years since I first announced that, some changes have happened, and I have written probably close to 12 or 15 full-length manuscripts in that time, and none of them have been published. Were they a waste of my time? Absolutely not. I had to practice it. That's like telling a dancer, don't bother dancing if you're not going to post it for social media. No, they still need to dance. It's like telling a singer, don't worry about singing in the shower because you can't record it. No, we practice everywhere. Even when we as writers are journaling, that strikes something up in our subconscious that could eventually bleed over into our fiction work. And that is something that you need to always remember, is even if you're shelving a project, it doesn't mean that that project's over, that you're giving up on it. It just meant that in this moment in time, it's not serving you, but it served a purpose, regardless of whether you ever come back to it or not. And all of my work that has been shelved, I still have, to some degree. Even if it's just a paper copy, in a 3-ring binder, I still have it all. I can still look back and go, this sucks so bad. I am so glad this wasn't published, because then people would have read it. And it is also a thing of everything you write should be better than what you just wrote. Obviously, Same for dancers and artists and singers. You should get better with time. But nothing is ever wasted. You did not waste the time you spent on whatever project, regardless of how long it is, because you can always come back to it. Also, everything you produce does not need to make you money. I think that is where creatives have struggled in these last 15 years, is because everything we do can be put on social media, can be put here on YouTube. It can be recorded and consumed by individuals, perhaps before it's ready to be consumed. And so we are in this constant mind space of everything I do, I have to be able to put somewhere for a reader to find, when that's not the case. Whenever I publish poetry collections, there's always a dozen or two poems that never see the light of day, that will never see the light of day, and that's because they aren't for readers' eyes. They were for mine only, or they were for my critique partners and mine only. And it is, I think that's the hardest part for us in this current age of technology. Not everything you produce needs to be monetized. And I'm not saying your writing should never be monetized. I publish. I am a freelance editor. I believe it should be. I don't believe everything you produce needs to be monetized. I think that it actually takes away from your creative well to share absolutely everything you produce, especially on this regular basis. I have already talked about the fact that I'm not really on Instagram. I don't think I've posted there since June. And that's because it wasn't filling my creative well. And it was just taking me away from my writing, because I was thinking about, what am I going to post? Doesn't matter what I'm going to post if there's never a book for somebody to actually buy, if I'm telling people I am an author. Looking back, I've talked about a lot of projects on this channel. I've only been doing AuthorTube for about 2 years, but I think something that would have been cool is to just document where I was. But also, I am a writer, so I kind of documented it myself in my little diaries I would write from time to time. And I will go back to some of those diary entries, and they still sound so much like what my strongest writing sounds like. Because in those moments of vulnerability, that is who I am as a creator. And I can't have that introspective reflection if everyone else is looking at it and validating me or invalidating me, or just simply not caring about what I'm posting. And I think it's harder for us to shelve projects when we've announced it to some degree, because I even felt that with my mystery series. And I came up with this idea for this mystery series in 2023 when I was publishing my debut poetry collection. And so it's been 2 years in the making. I don't normally spend that long on a project. For instance, the cemetery book. The core premise behind it is something I toyed with, like, in my head. But I literally went to bed one night. The opening line came to me right as I was trying to fall asleep. The next day I started writing it. This was maybe 3 weeks ago. So it would have been like the end of July, beginning of August. And I'm now 11,000 words into that manuscript. That is my style. Which means there's something about this mystery that I'm trying to write that's not serving the purpose it's supposed to for me. It started as a YA, now it's a new adult. I don't know if I'm just moving into writing adult stories, because the cemetery book is an adult story. Because my freelance editing, I only work with young adult middle grade manuscripts, and that's what I intend to keep working on. But I think for me as a writer, as a creative, it's just not what I need to do. And I'm trying to force this mystery series into an age group it may not belong to. But I had told everybody about it. I had been talking about it for months here on my channel, and so it felt wrong to just pause it. But I think that's also important to new writers to see that you can shelve projects and come back to them. And perhaps that time away actually helps you understand why you were struggling with it in the first place. Because I think that's what's going to help me, is I keep having these different ideas, but they're different depending on whether I'm looking at the YA, the new adult, or the adult vision I have for this story. So I just need to figure out which one is actually calling to me and write that one. Because I had written a complete outline for the YA. I've written a complete outline for the new adult. Something just doesn't click. Like that, the spark, the creative spark. I don't feel it with either one. And just for reference, the YA has like 30,000 words in it. So these aren't projects I started, wrote a chapter or two, and then stopped. Like, I actively pursued them, and something's just not clicking. And that's okay. That's also why there's multiple genres. I've always written fantasy and sci-fi. So it just made sense for me to write this urban fantasy, take a break, because as much as I love mysteries, maybe it's not something that I'm meant to write, or if I do, it's just for myself, just for fun. Because again, everything I write does not have to be monetized. It doesn't have to be something that I am writing purely because one day I'll make money off it. Because yes, I wrote stories as a kid because I wanted to be an author. But it wasn't from the money aspect, because I knew authors did not make money. I knew artists in general typically do not make money. And writers are the ones who kind of joined so late in the game, because we didn't have dance videos to post on YouTube. YouTube wasn't a thing when I started writing, okay? It came a year later, okay? That's how long I've been in this game. And so we didn't have dance videos to post, we didn't have singing videos to post, we didn't have artist time-lapse things. Like, I'm just gonna show you me typing. That is the most boring art that you could post. So it's really hard to find ways to monetize it. And a lot of writers, I think, do it by sharing snippets of work, which is fine if the book's available. And I think that's the hard part, is our work is not as enjoyable for an audience until it is complete. Movies probably have the same issue, because you can keep showing snippets, but if the final product takes 3 years to come out, people are just gonna kind of give up on it. Same with video games. I think video games are another art form that it can take so long to do it, and you have to find that balance of marketing. That is a whole other beast. That us creatives, at the same time, it made marketing easier because it was free. But now marketing's harder because everyone's like, it's free, you should do it all the time. And you shouldn't. You know what you should be doing all the time? Writing. Or reading stuff about writing. Or just reading fiction books in the genre that you're writing. That would also be very helpful. I think in general, if you are a new writer and you found this channel, and I'm clapping, I'm sorry, I'm so excited, and you found this channel by this video, just take everything you write as practice. And if you write something that's really, really good, then you can pursue it. And not everything's a timeline. You know, I mean, when I was starting out, I never thought, okay, I'm going to write this book by this time, and then query it here, and then work on this next project. Even though I think like that now, but it's because I'm self-publishing. When I was seeking traditional publishing, which is what I was doing up until, I don't know, 3 years ago, and not steadily either. I think I only queried 2 projects of the 12 or 15 I wrote. So there's some more numbers for you. And it was something that I think it stops a lot of creative energy right now to put timelines on things, because when I was first writing, there wasn't a timeline for the book. It was, you wake up in the morning and you write 6 pages before we go into school, back when I was in high school. So I had to take the bus. The bus picked us up at 6:40 in the morning because school started at 7:30. I would wake up at 4:30 so I could shower, because my hair took 2 hours to dry because I hate blow dryers. And I would wake up at 4:30, shower, and between 5 and 6 is when I would write. And then I would go ahead, eat breakfast, get ready for school, and leave about 6:30 to walk to the bus stop. And it didn't occur to me when I was going to finish it. I just knew 6 pages a day, which is insane. Because I don't know where that dedication came from at all. I really need to find it again. But don't focus on the end goal. Just focus on the step at a time. And you know, for some of us, it's writing a certain amount of words or pages, or maybe you have short chapters and you're like, you know what, I need to write a chapter a day. Just do that. And their word count goals are like step goals, okay? Everyone says 10,000 a day. That's an arbitrary number, just like 2,000 words a day. So if you are someone who writes 500 words a day, but they are clean, and I'm talking you could publish your 2nd or 3rd draft because it's that clean, write 500 words a day. If you're someone like me who can sit there and knock out about 1,100 words at a time, but you can maybe fit in 2 sessions a day or like 1 every other day, just aim for what you can do. So right now, I think I average 500 words a day, but I'm writing 1,000 when I do sit down to write. And the core message you should take from this is set aside time to write, set aside time to read, and then set aside time to study the craft of writing. I am not talking motivational books. I feel like if you're a creative, you don't need motivational books. You need craft element books. We're talking Janet Burroway. We are talking, what else do I have? I just found this one. Perrine's story, like this stuff, okay? I got this from a thrift store for $1.79. Do you see how thick this is? This is what they would use in university. Janet Burroway is what they used in my university writing classes. That's all you need. That is it. When you get into the editing phase, you need different types of books, which is totally fine. I constantly recommend the self-editing for fiction writers. I can't think of the author's name. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere you buy your books at. But you just need stuff like this. Also, this is so thick because half of it's short stories, just like the Janet Burroway ones. You need to be reading and just studying what you like about it. I love the characters in Leigh Bardugo's YA novels. I love the world building of Marissa Meyer's Lunar Chronicles. Pick and choose each aspect of a writer's style because that's where you draw inspiration from, okay? If you like the setting from this author and the characters from here and the plot twists from here, mesh them all into your own, into how they need to be. That's how writers start. That's how artists start. A lot of artists probably saw Studio Ghibli films and went, I want to draw like that, and then they veer off into their own thing when they discover a new artist. That is natural. That's how we grow. Art is a constant changing of culture, and somebody said this on a video recently. It was like a conversation of community and culture or something like that. Don't remember who said it now. It was one of these author tubers. But it makes sense. Like, art is just ever evolving. Writing is ever evolving. And it doesn't matter if you write commercial fiction or literary fiction. It does not matter so long as you are writing. Okay? I'm probably going to end the rant because every time I think I'm just going to make the final clip here, it's another 5-minute clip. So, and for those who don't know, I still edit everything on Canva because I haven't learned any video editing software. But a quick update, I'm sure I included a clip somewhere in here of my word count. It is currently at 11,000. I'd love to see that higher. And we will see where it goes from here because I am thinking about sticking with urban fantasy. If you missed last week's video, we talked about the genre. And if you're just curious on why I'm jumping between all these projects, there's another video that was right before it. So, if you're brand new to my channel, I am diving into more like writing vlogs and sit down videos like this, and kind of steering away from the freelance editing videos. I am going to update that because that is my job, but we just like to sit down and talk books and writing and things like that. But if you do enjoy it, feel free to subscribe, like, share, comment, all the clicky button things. I need to go because this clip is probably going to take 30 minutes to even download to my computer. So, thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.